Welcome back to Virtually Viking Radio Show. I'm your host, Sunshine Neely, and today we're going to discuss all things the library with Dr. Brittany Fisher. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Dr. Fisher is a librarian at St. John's River State College. But before we dive into the topic, I do want the viewers to get to know you a little better. So we'll talk about a little bit about you and your background. Now, are you from Putnam County?
Actually, yes, I am. I was
Yay.
raised in Crescent City, and I graduated from Crescent City High School a long time ago. We won't say a year, but it's been a minute.
Definitely, I totally understand. I just graduated like 2 years ago.
Absolutely. It seems like that anyway.
Now, tell me, how did you decide to become a librarian? Is that something that you as a little girl, you just like, I that's what I want to do. That's it. That's all.
Well, luckily, I was raised by a mom who really loved libraries and took us to like story times and stuff when me and my sister were little. But when I was in high school, I was approached by my art teacher, Miss Coward, for anyone who may know her. And she was like, "Hey, Brittany, you have a job. You have to report there tomorrow after school." And I was like, "Well, thank you so much for thinking about me, but I'm not looking for a job. I'll have to discuss this with my mom." And she's like, "I already discussed it with your mom." So you can report to the Crescent City Public Library tomorrow after work. And
Oh my
that's
God.
actually how I started in libraries. The
And what
librarian,
now what
hmm,
grade were you in?
I was in 11th grade at the time. So
Wow.
I was like 16. So the librarian there just, whenever she needed a new page for the library, she would contact the art teacher and get a student recommendation. So I worked there my 11th and 12th grade year, and I learned to love it. And I was like, this could be a thing for me.
Wow. Isn't
Yeah.
that something? You're
Hmm.
like, it just fell in your lap.
Yeah, basically, but it worked great for my personality. I
Mhm.
loved reading, but I also like helping people
Right.
and like a challenge, which, you never know what the question will be. So you kind of have to be on your toes.
Exactly, exactly. That just goes to show you that I'm pretty sure your art teacher saw something in you and just was like, this is going to be the perfect job for her, and this is going to be the perfect, everything. So that was
Hmm.
really cool, really cool.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you worked for SJR State, and then how many years have you been a librarian here at SJR State?
Okay. So when I started here in 2010, I was working on my master's in library science. So I wasn't qualified yet to be a librarian. But I started in HR, and I worked in human resources for a year. And then I worked in distance learning for a year. And then I transitioned to the library. So I've been here, I guess it's 15 years,
Yeah.
or I've completed 15 years. And then as a librarian, I guess you could say 13, because I
Oh,
did the two
wow.
years in the other departments first. Yep.
Definitely. Well, that's good. Nice. I didn't know that about you, so that's really awesome. I'm
Yeah.
learning some things here today. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into our topic of discussion today. So I looked on the website and I saw a topic that Vikings read more book club. So can you give me a little bit more information about the book club and how that process works?
Absolutely. So the book club's like my little baby that I born to the library. A book club was something that people had been asking for a while, but the logistics of putting together a book club for a school like St. John's is kind of hard because we have three campuses.
Right.
Each campus has a very distinct kind of flavor. And I know it's going to sound odd coming from a librarian, but I don't love prescribing books to people.
Mm-hmm.
I like people
Right.
to read what calls to them. And I've
Right.
tried personally to be in book clubs, and I just don't make for a good book club person because as soon as you tell me you have to read this book, I'm like, couldn't care
I
less
don't.
about that book.
Right. I don't want to read that book.
Yeah. So I did a ton of research just about like non-traditional book clubs, because the other kind of tricky part is you never know how many people are going to participate. So how many copies of a book do you buy? That can be really tricky.
Right.
So we decided to go with a model where everyone just kind of reads whatever they want to read, and then we come together and chat about books among friends.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's just like if you read a book and your two girlfriends read books and then you just chatted about your books. It's exactly like that. It's really low commitment. And I learned so much about books that I may have never discovered organically. So it's been working out really well. So we have the book club at each of our campuses. We meet for an hour. And you would think that it might be hard to get a conversation going, but it's really not. Everyone there is like super pumped to share their book. And some people don't even read books. Some people read articles or magazines or
Oh, wow.
blogs, and they just talk about what they're reading. And it's very beautiful and fun.
That's really cool,
Yeah.
because when you said it's not hard for everybody to come up, start talking.
Mhm.
Well, person A is really passionate about their book, so of course they're going to share and discuss it, and then person B is passionate as well about the particular book that they're reading.
Yeah.
So that's a really good idea. I did a book club with a local group. But one of the things that I kept running into is that some of the people would read like way ahead, and it's like, slow down, we're on chapter two. And then you would have someone that was still on chapter one or hadn't even started the book. So we were like all over the place. So this is a really, really cool idea.
Mhm.
Now, are the meetings in person or Zoom, or how does that work?
So, right when we started this adventure, I'll call it, it was right around COVID. So we started online and it wasn't super successful, I think, just because people were so kind of zoomed out. So we've been doing during the fall and spring semester in-person
In
meetings at
person.
each campus. And then since summer's like a little bit less people on campus, we usually do it on Zoom. We haven't finalized our schedules for fall yet. We're thinking about maybe doing a hybrid. But as soon as
Oh.
that information is available, we'll share it with Stratcom and it'll be on the Vikings event calendar so people can find it there. But I will say it's mainly a student driven club, but we do have faculty members that come and staff members, and also a few people from the community who like to engage, respectfully with our
Oh.
students. So the students have been benefiting from that as well, just getting to meet new people and explore different ideas.
That is really cool.
Mm.
Now, and so each person, do you bring your books at the meeting or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. Like I read a lot of digital content and listen
Hmm.
to audiobooks, so I wouldn't necessarily have a physical book with me. But if you're reading a physical book, some people bring like I'll call them artifacts. So we had a gentleman who was reading a book about scrub jays, and he had recently went on a trip and bought like a wooden sculpture of a scrub jay. So he brought
Oh,
it for
wow.
everyone to see. Some people are reading books, then the book itself is kind of an artifact.
Hmm.
Like there's different, it's a
Oh,
weird book, things are going on. So they'll bring and they'll like show you so you can experience what they're experiencing. It's fun.
yes, that sounds interesting
Yeah.
and fun. I'm an old school book reader, so I have to have a physical book and of course a highlighter. And I like to, I don't know, highlight. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
that's really cool. So Vikings Read More Book Club. I really like that. Um, let's talk about the student circulation policy of how books are checked out. What are the rules? So
Okay.
I'll let you go.
All right. So students are always kind of surprised when I tell them how many books they can check out at a time. As a student who's currently registered in classes, you can check out an unlimited number of books. So if you want to load up bags of books and you feel good about
Wait,
that, you can
wait,
do it.
wait, wait.
Uh-huh.
So if as a student, I
Uh-huh.
can check out like 10 books
Mhm.
and then I can come back tomorrow and check out another 10 books. Oh my God.
Until you're sick of it, you can check out books. Yep.
That
And
is
we
really
have like ebooks that we have a collection of several hundred thousands of ebooks, and those don't count towards your checkouts. So you could use an unlimited number of ebooks as well.
Oh, wow. That is
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah,
That
and then
I
we also have DVDs, because I know a lot of people like me, well, in Putnam and in surrounding counties, if you live out in the woods, you're not getting great internet
right.
service. So some of us are still dependent on DVDs. So students can check out 3 DVDs at a time for 7 days. So they
Okay.
have that option as well.
That's pretty cool. Now and then, of course, they must be a student, and they must have a student ID, or do we have library cards?
So we don't have library cards. We just need a form of ID. So you could use your driver's license, your military ID, or your student ID. If you don't have a student ID, come visit the library because we do that here for you as well. So you can use that moving forward. We
Okay.
just have
All
to
right.
know that you are who you say you are, and then we're good.
Definitely. Now, do we so if I came to the library and there was a particular book that I wanted, but you guys you don't carry that book, is there a way to access that book, or get that book?
Yeah, absolutely. So we always encourage students to either use our library catalog or have a librarian help them, because each of our campuses has a library and each library has a unique collection. So if you come to Palatka and you don't find the book, that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have it at St. John's. So that would be your first step, seeing if it's at another campus. We have a courier that runs between the 3 campuses every business day. So if the book you wanted was, say, in St. Augustine on the shelf, they would put it in the mail and it would be here in Palatka for you, like probably the next business day. We usually say
Okay.
2 just to give us some little buffer, but it's usually the next day. Um, and then, of course, if let's say that we don't have it at all, then we have access to the union catalog, and that includes the print, so book collections of all of the public Florida institutions. So all of the state colleges like us, as well as the big universities.
Oh, wow.
So you can borrow books from them. You can request them yourself, or a librarian can request them. And then worst case scenario, if you can't find it in that catalog, the librarians have access to a system that's called WorldCat, and that gives us access to all types of libraries nationwide. So not just academic,
Wow.
public, private, special, K-12, so you name it. So very rarely do we have to say no to a request.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. So you just mentioned it's very important to, ask the librarian, ask those questions. What other resources do students have that are at the library, or that are included in their tuition, that they don't know about?
Okay, so this is kind of a big topic. Um, I guess it's probably been a few years ago. I had a student who he was kind of far along in his program, so he wasn't like a new student, but he just happened to be in a class that came into the library for like a library orientation.
Hmm.
And I was showing the students in that class how to use our databases to find articles. And, they would give me their topic and we would search it and we would find the articles. Well, this young man was like, "Well, this doesn't seem fair. I've paid like $200 for articles that I found online."
Oh
So
my.
he didn't realize that we had library resources. So he was just going out and doing internet searches, finding articles, hitting a paywall, and then paying for the PDF copy. And so we went back and tried to re-find some of those articles. And I think maybe there were 10, and we found 8 just within the databases that we have
Oh my
access to.
God.
So I always tell students, like, when it comes to like paying for stuff for classes, just take a moment and see if maybe we have it. So, if you're assigned like a supplemental reading, or you have to read a book for like your literature class, before you go out there and buy it, check with us, because that could, it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it adds up.
But it adds
So
up. Yes.
$15 here and there, you know, then at the end of the year, you've spent $200 that you didn't need to spend. So
Oh my
definitely check with
God.
us.
That's like $200. That's like a lot of lunch box. So I
Right.
would be
Yeah.
like really Oh my gosh. Well, so that's good to know. The students should definitely, of course, utilize the resources that we have here at the college, that's included in your tuition, where you're already technically paid for it. And then, of course, we have librarians like you that are here to help and assist them. Now, so let's piggyback on that. Are there any like myths or misconceptions about the library?
Yes. So some of the common ones are like librarians are mean and grumpy and they like shush you. And I'm not saying
It's
that aren't librarians like that, but there are definitely not librarians like that at the Palatka campus. I can't speak
right.
for the other campuses, but we are very welcoming and kind and we love to see our students.
Yes.
Another common misconception is that you can't bring food into the library, which is not true. If you're studying and you want to run down to the lunchbox and grab a sandwich and come back up, you're more than welcome to do that.
I
If you
didn't
have
know
a
that.
Yeah, if you have a coffee you want to bring, you can bring your coffee. You can also take a nap if you need to take a nap. We don't have any rules against sleeping, and I have seen many a student and maybe some faculty members taking a
Maybe
nap.
some faculty.
Yep.
That
Um,
is really cool.
yeah, those are some of the really, I would say, like prevalent things that people kind of think. Like,
Definitely.
yeah,
Because when I walk in, I'm always like, shh, no talking.
yeah. Another one is that we don't have anything for like leisure or like for pleasure. So while we like the majority of our collection is to support our academic programs, we also have a lot of leisure reading books. If we
Okay.
don't have them, we can request them through interlibrary loan. We also have the DVDs. Some of them are academic, some of them are just for fun. And then we have some streaming video platforms. A lot of the videos are academic, but some are, like documentaries or indie films. So if you don't want to pay for maybe Netflix or something right now, you may be able to find enough entertainment through us, for cheap, for free. So,
Definitely. I
yeah.
remember during COVID, I did do some, what is it called, interlibrary loan? But I did request some books. I explore a little bit of a vegan lifestyle, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And I got some assistance with some books. So definitely, there are things for leisure in the library, so please join them. Now, and I know the library is not all about books, not just books. We did talk about a little bit of DVDs and things like that. But can you elaborate a little bit more on other things that you have that are not just books?
Absolutely. So, well, before we move away from books, something important I should say is
Oh,
that since we have early childhood programs, we have a lot of children's books. So those support our future teachers, but a lot of students, faculty, and staff who have children at home
yep,
take advantage of those. And I
yep.
know, like, children's books, you can never have enough of them. So
Never
we have
have
a ton
enough.
of those.
And you
But
guys
it's
do carry the sun, is it the Sunshine State readers? Some of
We
them?
do try to, yeah. And if we don't have them, we can try to get them through interlibrary loan, which is usually pretty easy to do because all the public libraries have them.
Fabulous.
But as far as like things that aren't books, we have tech. So we have computers that students can use, printers, Wi-Fi. Um, a lot of students are now asked to take tests on using like a lockdown browser so they
Hmm.
can't hop around the
Right.
internet. So we have respondents on our computers, we have webcams, we have headsets with microphones. Some instructors want you to use like a mirror so they can see, like make sure no one's
Got
in front
you.
of you giving you answers. So we've even like put together a little mirror setup on wheels that you can use because some
Oh,
students are like,
wow.
how am I supposed to make this work? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. Um, we have anatomical models. So for those students that are in like an anatomy class or the nursing programs, we have like boxes of bones and
Oh, wow. That
frames
that you
and
can physically touch
mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
oh,
So
wow.
yeah, a lot of students for anatomy will come in, get the box of bones and go to one of our long tables and, assemble the human body. So it's pretty cool.
That's really good, especially if
Yeah,
you're a visual learner. Like I'm a visual learner, so I can read it all day in the book, but it's like I need to see what this
right.
bone looks like and what it's
Uh,
supposed to do.
Yep, exactly. So they come in here for hours just playing with bones, and it is what it is. And then we have our science tutor right across the hall. So if they have questions, usually we can just run over there and get Jennifer, and she can clarify things for them. And it's really nice for the students.
Awesome, awesome. So, and you mentioned tutoring. So, tutoring is also a part of the library or in that area.
Yeah, we're a shared department, library and tutoring. So we have full-time math and writing tutors. We have part-time science tutors, and then a variety of faculty that come in and do tutoring hours. And we post all of those schedules on our library website. So, and then we also have online tutoring options that students can use 24/7.
Oh, pretty cool, pretty cool.
Yep.
So, if you need tutoring, head over to the library. Yes. So, I know the library. There's different places on campus where students like to hang out. Of course, everyone likes to hang out in the Viking Center, um, but the library is also a place where students could kind of hang out and not necessarily read a book or not necessarily study. So, can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So a lot of times I think kind of going back to that misconceptions of libraries, they
Misconception,
just
yes.
think about like the resources or materials that we have. And they don't really realize that the library is also a place on campus where students can kind of congregate. Um, so we have students that come in and watch movies on their laptops with their headphones on. We have students who come up here and eat their lunch because it's quiet. We
Mhm.
do have a room that students can like check out and work together in. So at any given time, you might see like a group of nursing students in there studying for a test. Or, one semester we had a flow art student who needed a place to practice her monologues. So you would hear
Oh,
her in there
wow.
talking to herself, or singing or whatever. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And then, of course, another thing about the library is that you have a group of people here to help you who are neutral. We're
Yes.
not giving you grades. We're not here to worry about your performance. We're just here to help you. So I've had students come in here and just have a little cry because they weren't happy with how they did on their test and they needed a little pep talk. So we provide those services as well.
Definitely. And
Yeah,
that's good to hear. I think everybody needs a safe place and a safe person. So it's really good to know that the library is welcoming and there are people that you can talk to with other things except besides books.
right. Mhm.
So definitely a great place. Now, are there any upcoming events hosted by the library that's coming up that you know
Um,
of?
So we will be, of course, doing the book club. We are looking at bringing in, more library centric events.
Hmm.
So we're kind of thinking about putting together like speaker series. In the past, we've
Ooh.
had like the supervisor of elections come in. So we'll definitely be trying to do a little bit more of that. But any event that we have, it'll go right on the Vikings event calendar and it'll say library, so you'll know. But we have been trying to have more events. We were doing really well right before COVID, and then that happened, and togetherness was kind of outlawed. So we're getting back into the groove of that.
That's good to hear. That's good
Mhm.
to hear. Well, we're going to wrap up. Are there is there any important information or any tips that you would like to share?
Yeah, I would just tell students sometimes the key to success is just persistence and um, putting yourself in an environment where people are encouraging you to, achieve your goals. So the library is a great place to get that sort of motivation and that encouragement if you're not getting it anywhere else from your family or friends. We're happy to do that. We're always happy to see you in here and excited to hear about your milestones. So just consider, the library as a place to kind of um, get that little shove in the right direction that you need.
Well, thank you, Dr. Fisher. And thank you for tuning in to this episode of Virtually Viking. We hope you enjoyed the insightful discussion with Dr. Fisher about the fantastic resources and services that SJR State SJR State College Library offers. Remember, the library is not just a place for books. It's a hub for research, study, collaboration, and it's equipped to support all of your academic and leisure needs. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to cover in the future, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out at virtuallyviking@sjrstate.edu. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and go Viking.